Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game School Online, where we bring professionals from everywhere in the industry, every discipline, and have them kind of do reverse engineer, show the tools and techniques that is best utilized within their discipline. So I am your host, Brandon. Bam. And for the next hour, we're going to be sitting with our guest, Tai Beaumont, and I do see him kind of waiting patiently there. He's on mute right now, so we can't hear you yet, Tai. This is my hour, well, my minute at least. Before I bring you on, I just want to remind everybody, if you are watching this live, you are probably watching this on twitch.tv/blue_champs. If you miss any minute of this, or if you're watching the recording of this, you are probably finding us on our youtube.com/gameschoolonline. Again, if you are looking for free education of the highest caliber, you want to go to gameschoolonline.com to find out how to get involved right now. If you want to give us any support, or you want any types of one-on-one mentorship with professional developers all across the world with whatever discipline that you need help on, spending an hour a month is what exactly our students around the world are doing right now. So if you want to find more info on that, just go ahead and go to www.gameschoolonline.com. All right. So that gives me the spiel. And at this moment, I think Tai is ready to go. So Tai, do you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Of course I can hear you. All right, cool. Tai. It's good seeing you again, man.
Yeah, it's good seeing you. I still want to sync up with everybody from Pocket Gems.
Yes, and a little history there for all the viewers. We used to work together, actually right next to each other. Might be kind of fun to kind of talk about that. But before we go into that, do you mind kind of sharing with the viewers out there a little bit about yourself, where you're at, and where you're heading?
Yeah. So I'm a 3D animator. I use mostly Maya for most of my career. I've worked at some startups, and I worked at Pocket Gems with Brandon. We were on the War Dragons team together, and then I left Pocket Gems recently, and now I'm at Adobe, and I'm working on some of their upcoming 3D stuff.
Awesome, man. So we share a bit of history, like I just mentioned. Might be a little fun tidbit. So we sat in next to each other for a good part of the year, right? You were moving on from a different project of the company, and then I think about 6 months later, did I start before you, or you started after me, or you started before me?
You were there first, yeah.
As I should be. But it was fun. We had our little circle. It's always kind of weird when you go into a new company. You don't know what the line is with people. So it's like the slow crawl into like getting to know each other and knowing what's safe to joke about and what's not. But I think it took at least some time. I think we warmed up pretty quickly, right? I was able to be pretty comfortable with you, and I think you notice later in the day I start to get too loose. We have to zip up, and well, I don't want to say zip up.
Yeah.
That's not how I'm not zipping anything. I'm at my mouth. Zip over. That doesn't even sound right either. It's just just want to make sure I filter myself and I get unfiltered by the end of the day. But it was fun.
Yeah, I remember you saying quite often that you just need to get your stuff and go home and stop talking. I remember that.
So there is definitely a testament to a working professional and a not working professional. In my case, a working Brandon versus time to let loose Brandon that you've noticed, right?
Yep.
So those are only very particular types of people that I let that in. But I knew within day one that's like, this guy at least I can joke with because he appreciates fun humor.
Yeah, I mean, work's got to be fun. Like, you got to be able to laugh at work. Otherwise, it's just soul crushing.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you mentioned, you are an animator, and the things that I've seen you do is a lot of work outside of work, which I highly encourage anybody out there looking to get a career in game development to do. But can you kind of talk about the story, how you got started with these animation contests, and how you were able to kind of keep up with it and stay motivated?
Yeah. So basically, I was just working odd jobs. I was working in the family business as a mason when I was younger, and I wanted to break into games and film. So I started sharing some like Blender animations online and forums and stuff. And I remember one day some guy basically said that I was just awful. He's like, "You need to go and learn." And he pointed me to the 11-second club, and I was like, "Well, I'll give it a shot." So I entered the first contest the first month, and I had no idea what good animation looked like. I thought I was going to win, and I got like pretty close, like last place. And then I realized, okay, I need to go to the forums and learn from the community and grow over time. And after like 6 months, I was able to get in the top 10, and I just kept doing it. And then it led to jobs. I was able to cut together a reel just from 11-second club contest work, and it got me the job at Pocket Gems. It helped get me the job at even Adobe to this day because I just stuck with it. And I entered that contest so many times. I think I entered like 60 months on top of work. And I finally won in July, and I'm taking a break now.
So, how did you find the time to balance that? Because I think that's one of the main concerns with developers, and in this case animators, kind of being comfortable enough to put 10 plus hours into something else outside of the normal office hours, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, every 11-second club varied. I mean, and they were various quality because it is hard to kind of balance work and your own, your professional work and your own work. Sometimes it was as fast as 10 hours. Other times I spent like 30 to 40 hours because it was just so difficult. Lunch breaks help. If you can work during your lunch break, that's huge because you can put in an hour every day. That's like 22 work days in the month. You got 22 hours of animation just from your lunches. But also, uh, just a little bit of time every day. It's kind of like going to the gym. I figured out a while ago that having a laptop is great. That's why I'm on the couch right now, is because I have one of those laptop pads, and my productivity just shot way up once I got like a gaming laptop, that could handle Maya, and I was able to work on animation while watching, Monday Night Football or whatever.
So, do you mind kind of showing some of this stuff? So, I know you have some work off your laptop that kind of give a preview of how you approach a certain project, kind of like one of these 11-second animations that you have.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to I can just share the screen?
Hell yeah, you can share the screen. So as you get that set up, you can probably talk about like how your transition to Adobe. So Adobe of all places.
Yeah.
So what? If you don't mind, without getting in trouble, of course. I mean, that's an interesting place as an animator, right? I'm not too familiar with the work that they do with animation over there.
Yeah. Oh, were you just laughing because like Adobe's so random, pretty much?
It is pretty random because when I left Pocket Gems, we were working on a project together, and then of all the places, Adobe. I did not think Adobe was your next destination.
Me neither, honestly. I was very surprised to hear from them. They're trying to get into the 3D market a lot more. They just released an app a couple days ago called Arrow, and they're getting into augmented reality. So I've been doing some stuff for that. I just animated something for their conference. They have this big conference every year. It's called Adobe Max. And I worked with the managers, Justin Patton and Vladimir, and we made this Terminator thing. So we basically had the go ahead to like make a little like theme park exhibit for the new Terminator movie in augmented reality, and they filmed like all the attendees like acting out in front of a backdrop, and we had like the Terminator robot like attacking them and teleporting in and stuff. So that was like my first project at Adobe, and that's been pretty fun.
That's awesome, man. And these are the types of opportunities I feel I keep repeating to developers out there just to be open to, because I'm sure, well, you're kind of like in a blessed situation, I feel, deservingly so. Like Pocket Gems was kind of like, I think I was telling you how rare of a workplace that was, because it was stable, it was cool, and pays well and all this stuff. And then you from there you went back, went to Adobe, which I imagine has pretty damn good perks, especially the one in SF, right? They are one of the main offices.
Yeah, I mean, they're huge. So like in downtown SF, they have a huge building on Townsend Street, and then like half a mile away is the like dual new buildings, and those are the ones that I'm in. So they were built just this year. And like the facility itself is crazy fancy. Like let's put it this way, I had a massage at work the other day. Like I was able to book a massage during lunch break.
Yeah, that's not normal. You're still spoiled.
No. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the building is awesome. I mean, I'm a contractor there though, so I don't get a lot of the perks, but it doesn't feel too different from a full-time employee. I just don't have health insurance through them, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's awesome to be exploring different facets, especially when you're still pretty young. I mean, I think the flexibility there helps. Being in the Bay Area, there is no shortage of like technical jobs. But the opportunities such as Adobe and many other like avenues that people don't normally think about is so cool. I think out of all the metro areas, San Francisco, if anything, gives the game developer the best reach for trying different things outside of games. And if anything, you just pretty much spelled it out. And it's going to be hard to kind of change from massages at lunch to no massages, I bet. But without further ado, please go ahead and show us what you got going here.
Yeah. So let me open up the scene here. So this is, can you see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is the 11-second club for July that I was working on. This is super simple scene. You can see it's just a bunch of planes with free textures offline, some rigs I purchased, and turbo squid models, and just kind of pieced it all together. And I mean, when you look at it from a bird's eye point of view, there's not a lot of movement going on. The whole thing takes place pretty much with them standing still. And then when you go into the camera view, it's a bit more dynamic.
What is your thinking process before you get to the stage? Your inspirational reference. How is it usually set up for people who aren't aware of what the 11-second club is? Do you mind providing the history and how it came to be in terms of the rules and engagement?
Yeah, for sure. So the 11-second club is an online community. It was started by animationmentor.com, which is a really great online school for animators. And basically every month you're given an audio clip that's roughly around 11 seconds, sometimes less, sometimes more. But everybody has the same audio clip, and they can make an animation set to that audio clip, and it's their own interpretation. So sometimes they'll just do contests where it's nothing but sound effects, and it's up to you to create a story of what's going on around those sound effects, and everybody's entries are vastly different. And even with dialogue, sometimes people can interpret it very, very different ways. So it's pretty fun because you have some wiggle room to kind of play around with creativity and thinking of how to do the shot in a different way. And also you can post your work online, which is huge, and you can get feedback from the community, and they can tell you, feedback from everything from high level, story beats all the way down to the more technical stuff. And all of it's important.
And how long has this contest? It runs monthly, right? How long has this been going on? Ever since the school opened up? But I remember even like when I was in school, I was hearing about the 11 Second Club.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not positive, but I think it started as like the 10-second club, and then they opened up a new website. I started back in like 2012 or something like that. Like, it's definitely been going for like almost a decade at least.
And usually, do they give you, like you said, a sound bite that you have to animate to? So in this case, how did your idea? What is the sound bite for this one? And if you don't mind, kind of walking us through that process of you figuring out the scene that you want to do and then finding the assets.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can play it for you. I don't know if the audio will come through. Can you?
Why would I do that? That's what I was wondering. Why would you do that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Like a party? I don't know. I thought you were planning the evening. No, I meant to like arrest you. I'll arrest you later again. Take it easy. Okay. Why would I do that?
So the audio clip is from Ant-Man. I think the second one. And it's just like this awkward interaction between like an FBI agent that's trying to catch Ant-Man, but he's not very good at his job. So there's like confusion in the conversation. So the whole idea behind this clip is that this cop is about to catch like this thief or whatever. But they just get caught up in confusion in the dialogue. And then the thief just sneaks away because the cop is so self-conscious, basically.
And how did this scene in particular come to mind? Is just was it one of the first thing that popped up and you kind of went with it, or did you play with several ideas before you decided like a police scenario?
So I kind of have a process at this point. One of the things I like to do is, before I even start, I just listen to the audio over and over, either on my phone or the computer. And sometimes I'll listen to the audio for like hours, like just trying to think of what I could do with that dialogue. And a lot of times I won't even watch the original scene because I don't want to be influenced by how the scene was initially set up. I want to do my own thing. So that's like the first step before you even draw, before you get into anything. Just keep listening to it over and over again. Everybody has a different way of doing it. Some people like to thumbnail everything out, make little sketches. I am so used to all the available rigs that you can download from Maya that a lot of times I'll imagine the scene and try to figure out what rigs I could use, because I pretty much know most of them at this point. And I found this one a few months ago, and I just thought it fit the scene really well. So I kind of imagined how it would go with this particular rig. It's called the Maverick rig. And it just like the eyebrows come in a default confused pose. So I just thought it was perfect for a confused dialogue.
And usually, how long does it take to kind of get your first rough in? And is the community pretty active with feedback and work in progress? Or is it one of those things that stays behind closed doors until it's finished and ready to be posted?
No, they're really active. So if you just throw your work in progress up on like Vimeo or YouTube or whatever, you can just drop the link in the 11 Second Club forums and you'll get a ton of feedback, especially if you engage and you ask questions and you kind of post updates as you go. That can help. I used to do that a lot. And then over time, I kind of stopped doing that after a few years, and then I started working with Ben Sanders at work more. So I still had a mentor. I just didn't go on the forums as much. But if you're just starting out, the forums are a great place to get feedback.
And what do you see is the main problems and success while doing this with other people? I mean, like, you definitely have a process. You definitely was able to hone in your best assets to win one of these. But what are the common mistakes that you see that you yourself have done earlier in other contests, but even with other people that are doing it right now?
It's tough. I mean, there's a ton of mistakes. Animation is super, super hard. I'm still learning. I still have a long ways to go. I think one of the common mistakes is you can rush in without planning enough. And then you can just make a lot of extra work for yourself if you don't really think it through and kind of have a clear idea in your head first and have a vision of what you want to do. And that goes into like things like blocking. If you move out of blocking too soon, you can end up with muddy poses. You can just create extra work, and something that could have taken 10 hours now takes 30 hours.
Yeah, definitely. And what how do you time box yourself so that, well, aside from the major deadline, you're talking about spending extra time outside of work to working on this? I can't imagine you like really crunching on stuff like this. Are you just see what you can do by the time you have to turn it in and then living with the result? Or like, especially with this winning one, right? What was it that was so different about this submission versus your other submission in terms of your process and your way of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, so I think like a lot of it is experience because I've entered so many times. So I kind of knew what to look for. And it's just a lot of it is trial and error. And time management is tough. There have been many times I entered where I did not manage my time well, and then I did end up crunching in the end, and I would just try to smooth out the splines and the motions as fast as I could, like literally in the last hour. There were even some contests where I didn't submit in time and I like didn't plan it correctly enough. So that definitely happens. For this one, I think this was just a culmination of a lot of learning. Like I said, I had a great mentor at Pocket Gems. Ben Sanders is awesome. He animated for Avatar and Ice Age and all these huge movies. And he was kind enough to take me under his wing and kind of teach me a lot of the fundamentals that I'd missed. And I think, combining that with the experience just helped a lot.
Well, while you are on the subject, what are the compounding result to this, aside from your skills being bettered as you enter each of these contests? Are you starting to see some notoriety from your peers or people within the forums? Like, what follows after winning one of these that has been surprising?
Honestly, not much. I shared it on LinkedIn after I won, and I had like 25,000 views or something like that, and like 2,000 likes, which was a massive post for LinkedIn for me. So that kind of went viral, sort of. But honestly, it's just at the end of the day, it's just all for your demo reel. I got some great feedback. So the prize for winning is you get feedback from a professional animator. So it was critiqued by an animator at DreamWorks. And that was pretty cool because they basically say, if you want to continue working on this animation, here's how I would take it and plus it, to get it to like feature film quality or something. So that's one prize. And that was awesome. And that video is available to watch on Animation Mentor's YouTube channel for anybody who wants to kind of see how like animation critiques and feedback go. But as far as like notoriety or anything, not really. The job market is still so competitive, and people are getting so good straight out of school that it's just easy to get lost in the mix. So like I still have trouble getting my foot in the door at big videos and stuff. So it's just kind of like life goes on. You just continue to work on animation and hope that you catch people's eye with other stuff, and this is going to sit on the top of my Vimeo page for a while. But I'm also trying to add new animations and show.
Yeah. Are you still there? Oh, I think I lost you. Well, I'm going to buy some time as Tai gets reconnected. But for those joining us, we're talking about animation tips with Tai Beaumont. And so if you have questions of your own and you want to ask, feel free to shoot it. Yep. Now he's back. Yep. We just lost you for like 10 seconds. But I kind of want to follow up with like being such a presence in these community competitions. I want to know some insight on both sides as a person who's competing. But what makes that this particular community and other communities to be attractive? Like what has drawn you into this that continuously pulls you in there and keeps you going?
I mean, the fact that I've seen real world results from doing these things and understanding that education and continuous learning is like the most important thing. So like, even before I won the contest, these animations have helped me get every single job I've had. So there's immense value in that. I mean, that basically changed my whole life. And the biggest thing is that when you get out into the community and share your work, you kind of, it keeps your ego in check, and it makes you realize that there's always more to learn. And it's not about working in isolation and thinking that you're awesome. You have to get out there and realize that there's so much more to do, and keep putting your stuff out there and keep learning, because everything changes so quickly. And once you do that and you get a mentor and you get an education, then your work will take off for sure. And I think that's been a huge part of what drew me back to the contest every month.
Can you expand on your mentor relationship, like how that worked and how valuable that is? I feel like a lot of professionals and hobbyists nowadays, they kind of they're rightfully on a road of self-education. I think every artist needs to have that at the base level, but they don't seek out professional help. They kind of learn through YouTube or other free resources, and don't really shell out the time or the money to have guidance. And I think a lot of wasted time is put into that.
Yeah, I think, and I learned that the hard way. I mean, I started in the industry kind of late. I mean, I got my first game industry job when I was 27. And I think that going to school, either an online school or college, if you want to get into animation, is probably one of the most important things you can do. And having a mentor teach you these things, because it's just going to get you there faster. I mean, like, you can learn from YouTube tutorials all day long, but you're going to have giant gaps in your knowledge. And it's just very hard to get a holistic picture of how to use, Maya, and how to understand the fundamentals of animation when you're just piecing it together from tutorials, which is what I was doing. So that can be really detrimental to your career over time as well, because what happened with me is, people saw that I was missing a lot of the fundamentals of my first job, and it's harder to get better work thrown your way. It's harder to kind of prove yourself. And, once you get a mentor or teacher or something, things just take off and everything will click. I mean, you still have to put the time in yourself in your spare time. But, I think for anything, even if you're learning piano or something, just get a teacher. You'll save yourself thousands of hours of frustration.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of want to end this broadcast with kind of how, like, a little walkthrough of how you plotted out this scene right here. Like, you have 11 seconds, but we all know every second of animation is actually a lot of work. How did you go about getting to the completion of this project? Do you see? I'm not an animator, right? I'm just going to throw out terms. Do you start with key poses? Do you start with the timing? Do you just look at it pretty choppy to make sure that the payoff is there? Like, how did you go about finishing or starting this?
Yeah. So, workflow is, definitely a big question that comes up with animators a lot. Everybody has a slightly different way of going about it. But, they all have, a thread that runs through, and planning your key poses, like you said, is a huge part of it. Kind of planning your camera angles, your shot progression is another thing. So, like, for me, when I start, a big thing with these contests is just even finding the right rig. You can just get used to the idea of scouring the internet and finding a really nice rig. And, there's a lot of free ones. Malcolm is a great one that's from Anim School. That's like a go-to. There's also a lot of paid ones. I love rigs by this guy. His name's Keel Figgins, I think. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but, he sells rigs for like 10, $15 up to like 40. So you can purchase a rig as well, and I think that's well worth it. Like, this one's called the Maverick rig. I purchased it for like $35 or something. And when it comes to education, I don't have a problem with spending, that much money on something. And that's a big part of it, is just figuring out what characters you're going to use, and also getting into the idea of going to Turbo Squid and saving yourself modeling and texturing time, and just getting some free assets or buying some assets for like $1 or $2. Like, I'm sure these dumpsters here, I got these from Turbo Squid, and they were probably either free or $1 or something like that. You can kind of piece together little scenes. And I think, like, even if you're not doing the 11-second club, stuff like that can really help, because giving characters scenery to chew on can kind of help make your animation more interesting sometimes. And then, as far as like blocking out the scene goes, I usually do stepped keys. So that's basically like kind of like a stop motion look, where you really just work on a pose for your character and kind of figure out the story beats. And it almost looks like you're looking at like an animatic, like an animated storyboard. And I do that a lot. Some people like to work on step keys a lot in a more involved way, and they'll break things down a lot more. I think having a breakdown is good, but I don't tend to over animate in step keys because it can make it very hard when you switch your animation curves to smooth motion and auto tangent that you end up doing a lot of cleanup. So a lot of times I'll work in what's called a pose to pose method, which is basically like get a really good pose with the whole body. All the controls will transition to another pose, and then you can go in and control by control, curve by curve, you can go in and break things up, and then you can go into the graph editor like you can see here, and you can start moving things around, and you have a little bit less clutter that way.
The graph editor is definitely your best friend. That's little knowledge that I have on animation, right? You guys spend most of your time in there. This is actually something that we talked about yesterday. We had GDux, where we had a technical director on one of the programs. I don't know if you ever heard of Cascador. You heard of that?
I have. Yeah, I met those guys. They visited Pocket Gems one day.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts as an animator? We had the CTO yesterday to kind of talk about that program, and I wonder what your take is on that as an animator.
To be honest, I have not used the program yet, so I can't really weigh in much on that. I've seen like the previews for it. It looks pretty cool. It looks like the software is designed to help you with the physics of everything and getting like real motion. Where in animation, a lot of times or every time in Maya, you're basically faking the physics through the curve. So like you can see here over time, like this Y curve is moving up and it's easing in kind of like a ramp. And those are things that you just kind of get used to eyeballing. It seems like software like that program you're talking about can help in the future. And I'm super curious, but I have not had any experience with it.
Well, I definitely am happy for you guys because from the first day of school until recently, right? I've only seen you guys in Maya using the graph editor. I haven't seen any evolution in tool sets and for a while, unless you can correct me on that. Has there anything revolutionary in the past few years for animators where you felt, aside from that program, that you felt really changed the game for you?
There have been a lot of really useful scripts. Maya is such a huge program that there's so many things that you can do to improve your workflow that are built into it that most people don't even know is there. So for me, it's been more about discovering what already exists under the hood of Maya that I could utilize to make things better. Like for one example, I kind of wanted to show this one. Again, Ben Sanders taught me this trick, but like I didn't realize that you can sync your channel box and your keyframes and your graph editor with a click of a button. So like for years, I didn't realize that if you click sync graph editor display and sync timeline display, that when you click on each control and each axis, it'll isolate it in the graph editor for you. And it will also only display keyframes of that control. And ever since I learned that, like my animation has just gotten so much easier, and I didn't even know that existed. So I guess, that's a big part of Maya is just discovering all the little tips and tricks that you have. Like another one is like, QWER is, selection, translation, rotation, and scale. And I think most people know that, but like they might not realize that if like, say you want to hold down the E button and then you hold down left click, now you can switch between your gimbal rotation, your object rotation, world. Same thing for translation. That's another trick that Ben taught me that it just makes it so much easier when I'm doing my rotations now and I want to check if I'm getting gimbal lock or something. So stuff like that has helped over the years. There's another really good script I use called Keyframe MP, and that will let you open up a video editor and sync your animation reference to your timeline. So you can actually have it on a second monitor. And when you're scrubbing the timeline, it'll have your video in a separate video player. So you don't have to make like an image plane in Maya or anything like that. And it's really useful.
Those are great, man. That's thanks for that. And I want to also let you know I miss sitting next to you. I want to thank you for the last 40 minutes or so speaking on your project and how you were able to kill it, because I remember a few months where you were pretty active with different 11-second clips, right? And it was kind of awesome to kind of hear. I think I was still there, right? I was still there when you won this one. So congratulations. I am looking forward to your continuous growth, and hook me up on some Adobe programs at some point, man. Whenever I do visit, I definitely want to check out your facilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime if you're in the area, I can show you around. And I'm gonna sit next to you too. It's it's always good to sit next to somebody who makes you laugh and you can just chill with. And thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, of course, dude. And next time, we'll get a massage next to each other. It'd be super cool.
Oh God.
Are these private rooms? What is it? What's the setup like?
Yeah, no, they're not like in the middle of the cafeteria or anything. I probably wouldn't do that. Honestly, it was awkward. It was weird. I just tried it because it was like so
it was there.
That it was
you
awkward,
have to try it. Yeah.
It was there. Yeah, it's a private room and it's like all set up with like candles and stuff and like relaxing music. It's like they have an on-site gym and basically it's connected to the gym. And I had to try it because it was just so swank, and it was awkward though. The masseuse told me that a lot of San Francisco startups actually do that. Like it's like a common tech industry thing.
Oh yeah, the massages at these fancy tech companies. Yeah, they do everything, man. They have like real sleeping pods. Do you have a sleeping pod over there?
We do. Yeah, it's right next to the massage room. So there's like, they call it the Soma Dome, and it's like it literally looks like it has ground lighting on it, and it's like an eggshell that you like just sit in, and it plays like weird like frequencies that are supposed to relax you. It's bizarre. I go in there, and if I'm really tired, I might take a nap during lunch or something, and I just turn all the extra stuff off.
Nice. Well, we'll do that next time. We'll eat lunch, get a massage, take a nap, and then high five at the end of the day. That's the end of a perfect work day for me.
And then get yelled at because we were never at our desk and didn't do any work.
We'll just open and close Photoshop once in a while. It's fine.
Yep, that's the secret.
Well, thank you, Tai. I'm going to switch this over to you real quick, actually, if you want to switch back to your face. And this is actually a perfect opportunity to let the viewers out there and list viewers live and recording know where they can find you, where they can follow up, and stay in contact, really.
Sure. Yeah. I have a ton of LinkedIn followers, so you can search for me on LinkedIn, and I usually post my work on Vimeo, so it's vimeo.com/Tai Beaumont. My work on there is kind of a mess right now because I'm in the process of updating my reel, and Vimeo has an awesome feature where you can replace your videos. So I find that I post my work in progress and then I'll replace the video as I go with a cleaner animation. So right now it's a little bit messy, but I have some stuff on there.
Awesome, dude. Tai, it's great. It's been a while, man. I didn't realize half a year kind of went by before since I've seen you, but it's great seeing you at a new place, getting awesome massages. On behalf of all of us, next time you get a massage, just say Brandon said hi and just shut your eye and see how that goes. See if your massage gets better or worse.
Okay.
There we go. See, whenever I'm with you, I start getting too unfiltered. So that ends today's show. I want to thank you, everybody who is joining us, for tuning in every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you want to have a breakdown of tools and techniques with professionals such as Tai, just come back on Twitch every Thursday. If you miss any second of this live, you can go to our youtube.com/Gamesco Online to find the recording a week after. So the live portion is fun because you get it in early access, basically. If you want to join us on Tuesdays, that's our Game Dev Unchained show, where we talk to professionals about their lifestyle, but also how to win as a game developer. So tune in Tuesdays and Thursdays, basically, if you like all of this, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And that is it. I'll see you guys.